Well, I'm not proud of this, but when I was a teenager, I ran away to Florida to become a cocaine kingpin drug dealer. And the story is coming up next. After that, I wasn't having it. I ran away. I ran away. Like, I got home, I'm like, grabbed all my stuff. I'm like, I'm out of here. I'm out of here. Okay, so I'm going to get into some things now that, again, I just want to reiterate that we're calling this fiction, in case there's any law enforcement that gets any bright ideas out there. So I ran away to Fort Lauderdale, but I didn't just, run away blindly. I knew somebody down there. I had a friend. We're going to call him Jeff. And he had a townhouse, which was really awesome. Like, it was an awesome place. First of all, it was big. Like, you'd almost think it was a mansion, except that there was a bunch of them, next to each other. But there was an inland waterway on one side. So he had his garage on the one side where he had an awesome Ferrari Testarossa, which at the time, we're talking the 80s, was hot. It was a stick shift, and I didn't know how to drive stick shift, so I never drove it. And now I can totally drive stick shift, so that was kind of waste. But he did have a couple of boats in the back. He had a big yacht, which you could go fishing on and stuff and have parties on and whatever. And he also had a cigarette boat, which was really cool, and the chicks loved it. And so that was a great time. We were, dealing out of the place, and there was, there was a strip joint. What was it called? The Pink Pussycat, which was right down the street, like walking distance, 2 blocks or something like that. And strippers love coke, right? So, they were always coming in, they would just hang out at the house. You'd always be some hot chicks that crashed out on the couch or, doing some lines over there or whatever. And so, it came with a lot of perks. I could have really stayed there for a long time. I did stay for, I guess it was 6 or 8 months, probably closer to 8 months. Anyway, it was 8 months. And so, what's really cool is there was a bar about 4 blocks away. Again, you could walk. Most time we took his Ferrari, because that's a good showing when you pull up in a Ferrari to the club. Although, it was a hot club. It was called City Limits, I think, or City Lights or something like that. It was in the Hollywood, Fort Lauderdale area. But there was a lot of other cars that showed up there too, like, Lamborghinis and, Rolls Royces and just a lot of like rich people. And so, but it was a really cool bar. And, you could be under 21. You just had to have a wristband. And because I knew all the bouncers and stuff like that, I never had to have a wristband, so I could drink, and, it was cool. But there was also people there closer to my age as well, and so that was cool. They always had live entertainment, and, so a lot of times I provided the party favors for the live entertainment. There was one female singer who was there, who was hot at the time, and I'm not going to mention her name, but her husband was also her manager, asked the bouncer, hey, where can we get some coke? And he's like, well, I know just the guy. And so he brought him over to me, and I hooked him up. So that was kind of, I always got to sell to some, people like that as well. And so that was cool. We had like a distributorship going on. There was a guy that we were getting it from, a Cuban guy from Little Havana, which was just south of there. It's in between Fort Lauderdale and Miami, I think, if I remember correctly. And so he's the one that I think was bringing it in, and so it was pretty high up the chain. And he would sell it to us, and then there was 2 brothers that we sold it to them, and one guy was there in Miami and in Florida, and then his brother would bring it to Chicago, and and some people that I knew from Chicago would distribute it, from there, and I didn't have any part of that, organization in Chicago, just kind of higher up the food chain. But I knew him, we went to the same high school. I graduated from the same high school that the main guy graduated from. And so we knew each other. And, he made some mistakes, he, bought a, sports car. I don't want to, give out too much details so you guys can maybe figure out who it is, but he bought a sports car with twin turbos, and walked into the dealership and paid cash, and bought a house and paid cash. Your car is one thing, and that's, back then you can get away with a little bit more, but still, if it's over 10,000, it's raising some eyebrows, and you buy a $500,000 house, that's definitely going to raise some red flags, So my mom called me out of the blue one day and she said, hey, like 40 of your buddies here in Chicago just got busted and they're all going to jail. And, I'm like, wow, well, good thing I'm down here. And so then what happened was I started noticing a car, like a narc car, Crown Victoria, whatever, parked like half a block away, gray one, watching the house all the time, like all the time. So I started thinking, man, we're being watched. Like they've traced it back. They got the guys who were bringing it from Florida to Chicago, and I'm like, we're next. We're like the next up the food chain. So I called my mom. I'm like, hey, maybe you could help me get out of here. Can you help me get out of this? I don't know what to do. I don't want to be like, I don't want to get busted. So she came and got me. She bailed me out. She came and got me, and I filled a duffel bag full of cash, and which she took, by the way. She's like, yeah, this is for me helping you out. But anyway, we went on a little vacation for like, a couple of weeks, whatever. And then we went back home, and, wouldn't you know it, like by the time I got back home, Jeff, and I think maybe even another guy got busted in Florida. So, I just kind of was in between places while it was all going down, and smart enough to see it coming and get out of it. So that was lucky. It was a lucky break. That's not my typical luck in life, but that happened. She bailed me out of that one and kept the cash. By the way, if you're curious why I ran away, that's a different story. I'll put the link right here. Well, guys, if you're still watching, you must have liked the video. And if you did, give it a like. Now, if you want to see more like this, subscribe and click the bell. If you got some extra time on your hands, why not watch another one? You can choose one from the Stories of My Life playlist, which will appear here after I disappear. Or you could watch the next one in the series, which will also appear here. See you in the next one.